This is a story about a girl named Lucky. I'm trying to make a video about how a lot of things have gone wrong, and my mic has decided to stop working, or the card has stopped working. So I'm just going to continue and not... Oh! I don't know where his hat has gone. We're working with it. Do people still do confessional vlogs? Because this really does feel like a blast from the past. It is midnight between the 3rd and 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. And it feels strange to vlog, but I've struggled. I'm a 30-year-old woman with her bear. I have struggled to vlog in general, even though there are a lot of things I want to talk about. And a big part of that is because I struggle and have struggled with just looking at my face and my body on camera. This is not a new thing. This is a lifelong thing pretty much. It's been a difficult challenge, and one that I've sort of tried to just work through by doing. And I really enjoy editing videos. I really enjoy talking in videos. I just don't enjoy the part where I look at myself, and even less so when I edit myself, and I really struggle with it. And this isn't a unique thing. Many people do, and I'm just going to give myself the permission to say that for me this feels like a really silly video to make, even though I know that I don't entirely believe that, but it's because there's so many other videos I want to make about things that really matter to me, but because of how I am set up, I keep coming up against this particular wall, and I thought I'd share it. I just thought I was sort of in conversation with myself about where I could share it that felt safe and positive, and the internet is known for being a safe and positive space, but no, I've always been very fortunate to be received in very safe hands by most of you here, and I just felt the need to sort of access that. And I will say up front, I have other places of support, and they are tremendous, and that I also get support from them. But I think I'm sort of in two minds. There's one part of me that's feeling like we are all going through such massive things right now on this unreal scale, with COVID and all the things around it and everything else going on right now. And sometimes it feels like, although there is a lot of volume around it, there isn't enough acknowledgement around how we're all doing, which on the whole I think seems to be not very well. We're doing our best, but we're not quite, a lot of us aren't quite where we were. No, not even where we were, but just, I don't know, it's huge things happened in our lives, huge amounts of grief, huge amounts of frustration, and of change overall as well. So that's one thing. There's this feeling of this colossal thing has happened, and yet I don't feel like there's enough acknowledgement of it. And yet I also don't want to just be sort of having heavy chats all the time. I want to be doing the things that I haven't been able to do. But part of the reason why I made this video is because I had tickets to see Dua Lipa tonight, and her support was Griff and Angel, who I really love, and I just couldn't go. And part of it was because I was really tired. It's been a really stressful week. There's loads going on right now at once, but I just couldn't go. But the other part of it was because I didn't want to have a body in public. And again, that's not an uncommon feeling for me. That's the most familiar feeling for me, and it is often, I don't want to say always, because I know that when I'm in a difficult place, it is difficult for me to fully remember and inhabit the times that I've not been in a difficult place, and vice versa. But it's a pretty constant feeling that sort of the volume gets turned down on sometimes. Like, I was just reminding myself actually as I was sort of very vaguely setting up, and yes, my room is a mess and there's chaos everywhere. I was just remembering though, or reminding myself that a couple of weeks ago I was in Vegas and I saw The Killers for the first time in, I want to say 3 years, or like 2.5 at least. And that was just so joyful, not just because I loved seeing them perform, but also because I met up with friends I haven't seen in a long time who were there and made new friends, and it's just such a positive, loving environment, so fun. And so I was trying to remind myself, like, I wasn't feeling, at a 10 out of 10 of self-body awareness, but it was there. And sometimes it comes at illogical times. I don't know. It's a difficult one to explain. Like, and obviously this is what I do therapy for, and this is what I have other treatments for, and that's all very helpful, genuinely very, very helpful and very life-changing for me, and has helped me understand myself and also adapt and change certain behaviour and so on. And that's all true still. But I think sometimes I just feel quite despairing because I've had some version of these feelings with me for, like I'm 30, 26, 25 years, and that's pretty heartbreaking and difficult to sort of even acknowledge as a thing, and to try and sort of I don't even want to say correct because that feels judgmental, but like to try a different approach and have something else become the most familiar approach is going to take time and is easier than it has ever been, but is also still very difficult. And I sort of have given myself that grace, but it's still this feeling sometimes that it just... No, not sometimes, it's all the time, it is like it's all the time that I really struggle in this body and in myself, and have medically a greater tendency to sadness and self-criticism and self-judgment and periods of depression and other things that I struggle with. And I'm such a lucky, privileged person, but I also just really struggle sometimes, and it can feel like it's all the time, and there's no break from it. And I will say that sort of, in addition to having been like a very tough couple of years for everyone, I think it's also been a really tough couple of years for me, for so many different reasons, and a large part of that is probably compounded by the pandemic, but just like lots of very difficult decisions being made, and like not always ones that I fully understand, and just changes in every direction, and it's just been quite overwhelming. And I think that I just reached a bit of a limit. I just reached a little bit of a limit for a second this evening, and I have, to be fair, for a little bit. I really got to tell you, I tempted the hell out of fate. Last week or this week, I don't know, I tweeted about how much pressure I felt about things like buying and just all sorts of other things, and like the language people use when they talk about investment, the language people use when they talk about buying property and being in relationships, and it has just hit me with this very different kind of pressure than it used to, because it does seem to have escalated, and it becomes this very judgmental thing. Anyway, so I said when I was talking about that, I love my place, and I'll rent it for as long as I can. 2 days later, get a text from my landlady that says, "Hi, really sorry to break this news to you, but we're selling the flat." And I think it was the last thing. I think that was the straw that broke the poor camel's back. I haven't thought about how sad that is. Is that on that list that Peter put out of like phrases we should adapt? Because I can't remember if it was. I can't remember what the new version they suggested, even if it was or wasn't. I still sometimes say, just because it tickles me, feed two birds with one scone, because I think that's so funny. Where was I? Crushing sadness and despair. Yeah. There are things that have... I think what's... The other thing that I find very difficult to explain, even to myself sometimes, but I think I have accepted it to a degree, is like, there are these incredible things happening in my life, and there are so many ways in which I am the healthiest I've ever been, the happiest I've ever been, the most excited I've ever been, all of that, while also dealing with all of these huge feelings and huge changes and like just generally really rough times that I can't even describe in a vague way through a sentence without this happening. But yeah, I'm having these just absolutely incredible experiences. I'm loving my masters so much. I'm probably going on to do PhD, despite all the people who were like, don't do it. But I've been just loving it, and I don't feel like my research is anywhere near done. I am loving so many things about my work life and my personal life and so on. I just, yeah, it doesn't cancel out the other thing. It's just like it doesn't feel relevant in a lot of ways. And yeah, obviously that has affected a little bit my ability to like fully take care of myself. But also I'm trying to disconnect how my room looks from how I'm feeling, because I think sometimes I can look around at a room like this and just sort of sink into a bit of a further depression about it. Man, you can really hear the therapy come out when I make these vlogs now. I don't know. I hope it's okay that I made this. I don't know. I'm concerned that I'm going to get texts from people, which is really not why I made this. I just wanted to... I guess I partly just wanted to talk, but it's also... it's also addressing that thing of why video making has been really hard, even though it's something that I really enjoy and that I do find a lot of play from. And this has been the case since the beginning. This isn't new, but it does feel like it's gotten, I don't know, it feels like it's gotten worse, but I actually don't think it has. I think it is the same level as it has been probably. But it's difficult because I feel really frustrated, and I'm trying to sort of like feel that compassion for myself. But like, I have these videos the rest of my cycling trip, but it's very hard for me to edit because I just like feel frustrated with my body. I feel angry with myself and how I look. And I think also, again, like similarly, anytime I want to make a video about anything else, I like sit down, get ready to make it, and sometimes even make the video, and then I look back at editing it and I just don't look the way that I want to look, and so I can't upload it. And it's just it's a very difficult thing. And like, I don't know, there are so many desires bound up in that, like, but I think ultimately a lot of the time it just comes down to like, I just want to be like pretty and all the other things I associate with that, and I don't feel that, and I know that I've ever felt that, and it feels very silly to want that right now. And it always feels very silly, and I think it's a very difficult thing to understand unless you've experienced it. But I also know that a lot of people have experienced it, so I also hope that if you're watching this, you don't feel I'm dismissing the way you're feeling. I just think you probably are familiar with the feelings of shame and like all the complications around it. This is where I am. I'm gonna stop there. Thanks for watching. Wow, this goes against like all of my personal rules for what I upload. But another thing they tell you in therapy is to be flexible. So me being flexible, I guess.